Okay, welcome. It looks like we have two people here, and I believe we have some more who will be here, but we'll wait one more minute and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. We may have some more people who join us. So first and foremost, thank you all for being here today and for your interest in the State Ambassador Program. This will be our second year with the program, and I think we've had a lot of fun this year despite being virtual, and we're excited to kick it off for a second year. This is a Zoom picture of one of our team meetings, and as you can see, we have a nice balance of fun and then also some pretty hardcore leadership experiences that the state ambassadors have around the state. Okay, so first, a few ground rules. First and foremost, if you're not on the current team or a staff member, I ask that you keep your camera off because we will be sharing this video publicly and referencing back to it. If you have a question, please place that in the chat, or you're also welcome when we call for questions to speak up and ask your question as well. And then, as you all are already doing, because everyone's so well versed in Zoom meetings, please stay muted unless you have a question. Okay, so a little bit of overview on what we're going to go over today. First, we're going to look at our team structure. We're going to go over eligibility for who can apply. We're going to look at how you can use the website as a resource, from everything from what team placement you're most interested in, to the application process and some of the general rules and guidelines for the State Ambassador Program. And then we're going to hear from a few of our current state ambassadors who can share a little bit about their experience and some of the things that they've done this year. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Sadie. And before I do that, I realized I never introduced myself. I'm Skylar Gurman, and I help coordinate some of the things for the State Ambassador Program. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Sadie.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here today. As Skylar said, my name is Sadie Parent, and I am the current State Communications Ambassador. My role, I do a lot of different things, but I'm responsible for outreach to the state, different communities, and I've put together, organized the newsletter that maybe you've seen, and work on other initiatives of that kind. So with that, I'm just going to go over sort of the structure of our team. So, we've got our greeter 4-H State Ambassador team, and then we have our 4-H program director, who is Dr. Jeremy Elliott Engel. So could you introduce yourself really quickly, Dr. Jeremy?
Sure. Well, I am Dr. Jeremy. I get to manage the entire Arizona 4-H program, have been a lifelong 4-H'er, started as a young person. Raising chickens was my first 4-H project, and 4-H really was a catalyst to a lot of opportunities, and I'm so grateful that I get to spend every day thinking about how we make really great opportunities happen for young people like the State Ambassador Program. This is absolutely the premier leadership experience that Arizona 4-H offers. So I'm so excited that we have young people who are interested in stepping up to leadership. Back to you, Sadie.
Perfect, thank you. And then we also have our leader state ambassador advisor, who is Peter Hooper. His name is Caroline Werkoven in here, but this is Peter Hooper. Could you introduce yourself?
Boy, it's not every day that I get to name myself Caroline. I will fix that momentarily. Anyhow, my name is Peter Hooper. I am the 4-H agent for Cochise and Santa Cruz counties, and I've had a really great year working with our first group of ambassadors. We've really done a lot and accomplished a lot, especially considering that we've been working virtually but this has been a group that's really decided to take that and take it more as a challenge, which is something that's really great about this ambassador program. You're going to get to work on things that other folks may not get to have that same ability, and put together opportunities for other young people throughout all of Arizona. So it's a really exciting time and a really exciting program to be part of.
Thanks, Peter. And then our Assistant State Ambassador Advisor is Caroline Werkhoven. Could you now introduce yourself, Caroline?
Yes, hi, good evening, everybody. This is the real Caroline Werkhoven. So I am a Program Coordinator Senior in Maricopa County. So I work with the 4-H youth here. A little bit of my background, my daughter was a 4-H'er and I was a volunteer through the 4-H program. And I've really enjoyed my time this year working with our state ambassadors and guiding and assisting where I can. So I look forward to seeing where we go next year with this program.
Thanks, Caroline. So then we go into our state ambassadors ourselves. So these are the actual youth ambassadors. There's me, so I'm the state communications ambassador. You can see the second one in here. We have our state ambassador president, who is Amelia Brackett this year, our state agriculture ambassador, Madison Ramirez, who is on with us tonight. Would you like to introduce yourself, Madison?
Sure. Hi, my name's Madison Ramirez. I'm your guys' Arizona Agriculture Ambassador. So basically, most of the stuff as I do is just bring you guys information about ag all across the state of Arizona. If any of you guys show livestock or in that aspect of 4-H, I'm your person.
Great, thanks, Madison. And then there's also our state healthy living ambassador, Elena Durazo. And then our state foundation ambassador, Mariah Villafana, is also on here tonight. Would you introduce yourself, Mariah?
Of course. Hello, my name is Mariah Villafana. I am the Arizona 4-H State Foundation Ambassador, and as the title implies, I work very closely with the Arizona 4-H Foundation Board. And basically my role is as youth ambassador, a youth representative on the board, just to give all you guys a voice. I've recently been kicking into high gear, getting information about scholarships out and just things like that. So good times.
Awesome, thanks, Mariah. And then our other two state ambassador roles are our state citizenship ambassador, currently Zane Campbell, and then we have a state STEM ambassador. And so there's also a link at the bottom of this slide that has some more information about each of these individual roles, if you want to learn more about what that looks like. And I think Skylar can provide that link in the chat as well. And then I'm going to pass it, I think, on to Madison for the next slide.
Okay, so this slide is how and who can apply for this. So if you guys are at least the age of 16 starting fall of 2021 to the age of 18, you guys can apply. You have to be in good standing with the county 4-H program. You have to be willing to commit to attending the required events. So please see the schedule to make sure if that will correspond with your guys' other stuff. And you must exhibit a high level of responsiveness and communication skills.
Thank you, Madison and Sadie. So with that, I'm gonna just do a quick tutorial about some of the web resources. So for any of you who are considering applying this year, this is the homepage that has all the goodies, all of the overview information that you'd want to look at before applying, before completing an interview, if you're invited to do so. So this is going to be your landing page for this program. So here we have our couple of newsletters that we've released this year. So if you want to see a little bit more in detail about some of the experiences that we've had this year, be sure to check out those two newsletters. This gives a little bit more overview of the state ambassador team. You can read more there. And then this also provides additional information about the state ambassador program. But I would say the most helpful page is going to be right here, and I'll put this link in the chat for you guys as well, is the State 4-H Ambassador application page. And here, this is going to be your timeline for your application process this year. And then we also have the 3 big document links right here. So this is going to be your State Ambassador application. And because it's through Google Forms, the application does not save necessarily as you go through. And for that reason, we have the big essay questions here, and then the components as well. So you can start curating those materials prior to actually submitting the application and starting through Google Forms. And then these next 2 documents are very important. The first is the State Ambassador Program Guide. So that this is going to have a lot more information about each of these positions. So once you open this is the table of contents. You can just click on the pages. So if you want to be the next State Ambassador President, I would highly suggest opening up this document and looking at who we're looking for this role for next year. And be sure to go over some of the extra information, the selection committee, the program financial support. All of this is valuable information. And if you are going to be applying and interviewing, I strongly recommend that you go through this document. Okay, and then the other very important document is the State Ambassador Program Schedule, which Madison just referenced. So as we mentioned, there's required, recommended, and then optional events for the State Ambassador team each year. There may be some optional events that are added throughout the year as they come about, but these are the ones that we know about, and they'll be very important throughout the year. And especially for these required events, in some cases, it may be a deterrent as to whether you apply. If, for instance, you know that you couldn't attend Summit both years, both this summer and next summer, that would maybe be a consideration as to whether you apply. So be sure to check out both of these documents. We are always, if you have any questions about these dates or events, please feel free to email me and we can have a conversation about that before you apply as well. Okay, so I'm gonna place this link. Okay. And with that, so these important dates are on the website as well, but just to clarify, we are currently at this stage. So we're at the Zoom session, obviously. The applications for the State Ambassador Program opened up last Monday, and they will be due to the state office by the end of the night on April 30th. I believe that's a Friday. So be sure to get your applications in by then. And then by May 7th, so within a week, you'll receive a notification as to whether you've been invited to apply, or pardon me, whether you've been invited to interview, because we only offer 16 interview spots. And your interviews will be with our selection committee. And the selection committee is approximately 8 people, I believe, who represent different communities of Arizona 4-H, whether that be a community partner, someone from the foundation board, someone from the Arizona 4-H state office, at least one of our current state ambassadors, another youth voice as well. So it's a very diverse selection committee who's going to select the best applicants for the state ambassador roles. And then there will be an interview orientation for applicants so that you know a little bit more about what to expect within the interview on May 10th. And your parents are welcome to join that as well. In fact, they're encouraged to join that so that they're more aware of what the commitment is, what the experience would be, and what it would look like if you are indeed selected from the interviews. The virtual interviews will take place May 12th and 13th. And typically we do those in the afternoon, but don't quote me on that quite yet. We'll release that information as it comes about, but they will take place over Zoom on the 12th and 13th. And then the selected ambassador team for the 2020, 21 and 22 year will be announced publicly on the 17th, but those who are going to be selected will be notified prior to that. And we'll have a conversation about that before things are publicly announced. Okay, so for additional information is on that same page that I just showed you, the application process page. So I'm going to hand it over to Sadie to share a little bit about her experience this past year.
Yeah, sure. So some of the highlights, I guess, so there's obviously these ones we've written down here. The Emerging Leadership Experience was an event that our team, the inaugural State Ambassador team actually came up with. It was sort of our team baby that we worked on and led together. It's a leadership experience for youth ages 11 to 14, so younger youth, helping them grow up into big leaders who will do other stuff as they come into the high school sort of age group. That was really something that I enjoyed, just because we had the opportunity to mentor younger members, which I think is sort of a standout aspect of 4-H, that older members mentoring younger members sort of thing. Sorry, stumbling over my words a little bit. Another highlight that I had that wasn't on this list was having the opportunity to work on the newsletter. That was something that I worked on a lot this past year that I'm still working on. Gathering youth voices from across the state and highlighting those, I think, has been really valuable. And I'm sure you can think about something in your community that doesn't get attention on the state stage. And as a state ambassador, you have the opportunity to, highlight those experiences for other youth, give them a chance to shine. And that's something that I've really loved. So I'll let some of the other state ambassadors talk about things that have been really valuable to them. But there's so many, I can't even name all of them, to be honest.
I can share next. So definitely the ELE Emerging Leadership Experience, that was one of my favorite to plan, and especially to work with the youth and conduct that day. Before then, I've never really conducted an event before, so that was my very first, and it was a lot of fun. Of course, I do work with the foundation board, and it was very, very intimidating at first. I was very scared, but I didn't need to be, because they were all super nice and super accepting. And it was a really awesome experience to be able to sit in on their board meetings and just hear them talk and hear them deliberate on their different topics and present their different topics. And I found so many different things to learn there, and it was really awesome. So those are a couple of my favorite experiences being a ambassador.
Madison, do you have anything you want to share from the year?
Yeah, honestly, my favorite was the Emerging Leadership Conference that we did. It was really cool to see how many young people really want to be involved and be leaders in their future and even in their present. It was just cool to see kids so passionate about what they want to do. And honestly, it's just super cool to see the future of all this.
Okay, can I jump in with a couple more, actually, because I could keep going. So another one that I think is really important to highlight is Amelia, the state ambassador president, and I had the opportunity to provide our testimony before the state Senate and House committees that were discussing a special license plate bill that would benefit the Arizona 4-H Foundation. And I think that experience was really exemplary of what your role as an ambassador is. It's you're presenting 4-H to other people. You're telling them why it's important. You're sharing your experience to sort of illuminate that, so people understand what 4-H is, why it matters, and how it's making a difference in the lives of young people. And so we had the opportunity to speak before those committees and tell them about ourselves, our stories, and why they should support that. And that's, ambassador, that's sort of what that word is, right? You're being an ambassador to outside people, even not just within 4-H, but telling other people why they should care about 4-H. And that's something that I thought was super important and really cool, to have that experience of civic engagement and representing 4-H in that way.
Wonderful, thank you all. And then from the advisor perspective, do Peter, Caroline, do either of you have anything you want to share that you experienced this year?
So one of my favorite events that I helped and sat in on was the Engaged Citizens event, where in the morning we had some training workshops with kind of government relations people who gave us advice on how to address our Senate and House members. And then in the afternoon, we got to meet our local Arizona legislative and talk to them about 4-H. And the most fun thing about that was how interested they were to hear about us, but how it also brought out their memories of when they were in 4-H. So that was my most favorite thing that I've done this year. I thought it was a really cool event. I loved seeing the engagement between the youth and the legislators. And I'm really looking forward to that one next year, when hopefully we'll be in person, because they invited us all down to their offices. So that would be really cool to meet them in person.
I absolutely loved everything that people have talked about. And but the one thing that really sticks out the most for me is looking at this from not just the professional side, but also the engagement side, and people being able to work together. As everybody knows, this has been a tough year, but we were able to do things as a team that really, I think, helped build us up together. We worked with, as you can see, working with Kentucky, working with California. We had game nights. We celebrated Christmas together. You know, we had a movie night where we all watched a movie together and were able to chat during it. And I really think that helped to build that team cohesion, because that's one thing that we are all about, with this being that premier opportunity for 4-H teens, is you're part of a team. You're part of a group that has to be able to work well together when you're working hard, but also we play well together. So for me, it's really a lot of those other things that we did too that were a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Dr. Jeremy, do you have anything that you want to share from the year? And if not, that's okay.
Anyway, I think from a program, from the state program side, the state ambassadors have been essential in informing the way that we have been programming in COVID. You know, we view the state ambassadors as an important group to inform how and why we do what we do. And so each of them are contributing significantly to our work. And so, you know, in the future, we'll have other questions and needs to hear from members about where we invest and how we do programming. This year, certainly the issue at top of mind was COVID, and how do we continue to engage and support people to engage young people. So anyways, I just want to share that they may not have experienced that as a top of mind experience. We certainly felt that, because as they were in meetings like this talking about how that experience is affecting them, that was informing how we were thinking about program design. So on a regular basis, when we have questions, we do come to this group.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for sharing some of those highlights. I know that this year has been a highlight for me as well. I was a former state ambassador for another state, for Montana. And so to hear from this team, one of the biggest things that I really wanted to be sure was a part of this program was building the cohesion and camaraderie that Peter spoke to. And I've heard from at least a couple of the state ambassadors that they will keep in touch, and they're so excited to at some point meet in person, and they can see having reunions down the road. So that warmed my heart to hear that from them, because that was one of the biggest things I wanted you all to get out of this program. So I really do hope that those of you who are on this call and those of you who are listening to the recording later on, that you will consider applying, whether it be this year, if you're eligible this year, or in coming years as well, because this will be an enduring program. And with that, I am going to open it up for questions. Do any of you who are on the call here today have any questions that you'd like to ask of any of the current state ambassadors or the staff or anything about the application? And don't be shy. You can put it in the chat or speak up, whatever you're most comfortable with.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
And this is for any of the ambassadors. Thinking back to a year ago when you were going through the application process, what is something that you, looking back at it now, wish you had known then that would have made you more prepared for the process?
I can answer that one. Sorry, Sadie.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So my biggest thing was the interview. So I wasn't really prepared to be interviewed. I didn't have a lot of experience being interviewed. So I kind of really hyped myself up for it and I kind of panicked, I guess I would say. So I would just say my advice is to really take a step back, take a deep breath. It's not the biggest hurdle that you need to go through. It'll be okay.
I have something for that as well, sort of on a different vein, but I think I didn't realize how important the ambassador program would become in my life. And I think that is, that's an individual thing. Obviously you can fulfill the requirements without it becoming that important to you, but I prioritize this, and especially during this year, it became something that I looked forward to all of the time. And even when things, were challenging, or I was having a hard time figuring out a solution to a problem, or it was always something that was really important to me. And I think I didn't realize that would be the case when I was applying, and it might not be for everyone. But I thought I think that was pretty cool, is how it quickly came to be a significant thing in my life.
Wonderful. Thank you for that question, Peter, and thank you both Mariah and Sadie as well. Okay, in terms of, we have a couple questions here from Dr. Jeremy. Great questions. The first is, how do you balance schoolwork, work, and the state ambassador commitments? Does one of our current state ambassadors want to take that question? I know you are all three very busy souls, so you have plenty of experience here.
So I have a main tip for this one, and this is something that I've had to practice to get better at it, but I make lists of everything that I need to do as soon as I need to learn, or as soon as I hear that I need to do it. So I make lists of things for a state ambassador program. I make lists of my school assignments, and I record the due dates by which those need to be completed. And I work through them systematically. And honestly, I think the key to success is being organized. So as long as you know what you have to do and you just keep ticking off those boxes, I think it's very achievable.
I agree with Sadie. Organization 100%. I don't go as far as you do. I don't make lists, but I have a giant calendar that I keep track of everything in, and that, do not doubt that, because it will keep you sane.
Wonderful, thank you both. And then the next question from Dr. Jeremy is in the same realm, that being, how much time will the state ambassador commitment take? And this is an excellent question. So as you saw on that schedule of events, there are obviously required events like Summit for 2021. So this summer, we have Jolt 2021 this summer. And then in addition to the events that you saw on that schedule, we also have monthly meetings. And whether COVID exists or not, those will be virtual meetings. Those meetings generally are planned for 2 hours Sometimes we take a little bit less than that. Sometimes we take a little bit more than that. Those meetings are scheduled based on the team's availability. So have that in your brain. We do at least a 2-hour meeting every month just to update everything. And then in addition to that, we do you'll see on that required schedule, we have seasonal retreats. And those retreats are intended to be in person, with the winter retreat, I believe, being slated to be virtual. This team has had all of their retreats virtually. Hopefully not. Hopefully we'll have to have an in-person one this spring. But those retreat weekends are basically Friday after school type time to Sunday at noon. We do, bonding activities, that kind of thing, in addition to doing a lot of concentrated work as well for upcoming events that the team is responsible for or has a role in. So those are the major time commitment points. Does anyone have anything else to add to that from our team?
No, the only thing I was going to say was that with regard to our our monthly team meetings or meetings, we do try and find a consensus on time so that your voice will be heard if it's better to meet early in the morning or later in the evening. And so what worked this year, we have flexibility to work with those times and those days next year with a different team.
Well, thank you. Okay, so the next question is, when does an applicant have to be 16 in order to apply? So in terms of 4-H age, and I'm gonna reference Dr. Jeremy for this question. 4-H age, the date starts as of, would you mind clarifying that?
Yes, now that I say that, it's always, is it December 31st or January 1st? I believe
it's December 31st at 11.
Policy says December 31st.
At midnight.
At midnight,
Yeah.
1 minute to.
At midnight.
Exactly.
In that time zone.
Right, in the time zone. Anyway, it's December 31. You need to be 16 prior to that in order to.
And that would be December 31 of 2021
Yes.
for the 21-22 year?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is this coming December.
Right, so I could be 15 now, but I could turn 16 on December 31st and I would be good to go. Which
Yep.
means we just have to think about alternative transportation for a couple of months, but I'm all in favor of that as well.
Yep.
Yeah, just to comment, that was my age going into this past year. I was also a junior in high school, but I was 15 when I applied.
And she's been a rock star. So if you're 15, 16, 17, you can do it. Yes. Okay. Awesome. Next question. Thank you, Dr. Jimmy. Do I need a car, smartphone, etc. to be a state ambassador? So I'll take this to start with, and then if anyone has anything to add, feel free to do so. So in terms of car, I would say that in most all cases, it should be accessible that you could potentially carpool with someone to a state event. However, there are cases, for instance, the retreats, or if you need to go be an ambassador at a county-based program, or if Cochise County is having an awards night and you've been asked to speak there. In cases such as that, it would be very beneficial to be able to drive. In my opinion, I think we could work around that if that wasn't the case, but you would be sure to have a plan of action for how you're going to get to the required events, because that's the most important thing. Whether that be a ride or a carpool situation, whatever you need to do, you would have to own that task. And then in terms of smartphone, I personally don't think that this is a requirement. You don't have to have a smartphone. What you do have to have is regular access to check your email. That is crucial. Even if even if it's a week after the monthly meeting and you're not anticipating hearing from the state ambassador team, we might get a request that says, do you have a state ambassador who is available to speak at this event? We don't spam you with emails. So if we do email, it's generally very important. So it's crucial that you're able to check your email at least once every 24 hours. And whether that's on a smartphone or a computer, whatever it may be, that's valuable. Anyone have anything to add to that response?
Well, I was going to say you don't necessarily need to have a smartphone, but it has been useful this year as a communication tool between us all, and also to build that team camaraderie has been to have the ability to text, because we do group text each other a lot. So it doesn't have to be a smartphone, but if you have texting capability, that's also a good thing to have.
I would also stipulate, like Skylar was saying, the most important thing is that you're reachable. And if there is ever something that comes up that would mean that you might not be reachable for a period, please let us know as soon as possible, so that way we can make some accommodation and pick up where we need to as a team.
Wonderful. Thank you all. So moving on to our next question. What is the role of the parent in the State 4-H Ambassador Program? And in my opinion as well, I think that this question might take a little bit of a different form in the coming year as it has in the present year, simply because in this current year, we haven't been able to meet in person. So I think parents typically get a little bit more involved if their kid is driving to a county that's 4 counties away for an overnight event. However, in terms of the role that we've experienced this year, that would be supporting the youth so that they're able to fulfill the requirements for the program and what's expected of them. There are, certain forms, like there's biannual stipend forms that for the coming year will need to be signed by a parent or guardian, so that because youth are under 18, so any official forms will need to be signed by both parents and youth. The parent also has to confirm the application before it's submitted as well, that they are willing to support their youth to do what they need to do to fulfill the program requirements as well. Does anyone, maybe we could hear from one of our current ambassadors about if they've had any involvement, anything like that. And if not, that's okay as well. And then anyone else who has something to add.
So, just speaking for myself, I think, as you said, it's been different this year because of the online format. But my parents have had really no involvement whatsoever with any of the ambassador stuff that I've been doing, other than, maybe helping me problem solve or talk through things that I'm working on with the program at home. But other than signing probably a couple of permission slips for events that I was attending virtually, other than that, and making sure that, I was able to get on my computer at the time that I needed to be, they weren't, making me go somewhere else. That's sort of the role, but I think it's very minimal. And I think a lot of that comes with being older youth who are stepping into leadership roles and being responsible for your own things that you've taken on. And I think that's something that's great about this program, is that it's really youth-led.
One more thing on that, in terms of a future year that maybe looks a little bit more normal, what a potential parent role could look like as well, is for the at least an event that a parent would be invited to attend, would be the annual Clover Ball, where the state ambassador team of that year will be giving their retirement speeches and being recognized for their year of service. Parents would be invited to attend that event. And then in addition, they may, in some cases, be providing extra support for overnight events and that kind of thing as well. Anything to add, Peter, Caroline, Dr. Jeremy? Wonderful. I think that was our last question. Does anyone have any other questions about the application process, about the State Ambassador year, anything of that sort? What are the financial costs? So that's an excellent question. Within the program guide, so I'm going to just so there are a few uniform items that are not provided by the State Ambassador program. With that being said, most of what you'll need is provided. We provide 2 polos, a button-down shirt, and you'll have to provide the pants that you want to wear in accordance with our dress code guidelines, as well as the shoes that you wear, basically. So that is what you'll need to provide in terms of clothing. In terms of transportation to and from ambassador sanctioned events, that would be provided to you and covered within the stipend that is allotted to you, as well as the event fees. So for Summit, for Jolt, for Engaged Citizens event, Emerging Leadership Experience, those event expenses are covered by the State Ambassador program. This year, because things were online, we were also able to offer any of the national events that our youth wanted to attend. Those program fees were covered as well. What other expenses would there be? Oh, we also pay for gas. I believe I mentioned to and from events, and the retreats, everything is covered, the food, the gas that it would take to get there, the lodging. Yeah, so there shouldn't be too many financial costs to you as the ambassador. And if financial considerations are in any way a hindrance in terms of you applying, please reach out to any of us. There aren't many things that you would have to cover, many things at all, and that shouldn't be a consideration as to whether you apply or not. Anything to add to that response? Okay. Let me see. Okay, well, if there are no other questions, we'll stay online for another 5 minutes. Does anyone have anything else they want to ask?
I'll add, I'm going to put my email in the chat, or my ambassador email, so do feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about my role, the ambassador program, further stuff about the experience, anything like that. I will be happy to chat with you so you can get more information.
Thank you, Sadie.
I will do the same as well.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording, but I'll stay online for another 5 minutes. Like I said, if anyone has a question they want to ask offline as well. And thank you all for your interest, and we are available by email as well if you have questions.